Update 2. I think my husband fathered his best friend's children, and now one of them is attracted to my daughter. I didn't expect to have another update so soon, but after my last post, I did a lot of thinking about my kids. I realized I needed to warn Sophie about the situation immediately. It didn't matter what it meant for Luke, or if it meant the kids would find out. She had to know what she might be getting into. So, I discreetly kept her out of school. We returned home last night, and this morning, I dropped everyone off, saving Sophie for last. I drove right past her school and told her we needed to talk. It's always a frightening thing for a teenager to hear from a parent. But I quickly reassured her that she wasn't in trouble. She needed to understand why Amy and I were fighting and why her dating Tom was out of the question. I gently explained my suspicions about Luke's closeness to Amy and Tom's resemblance to him. If Luke and Amy had been intimate at some point, that could lead to serious complications. Sophie listened quietly, and after a long pause, she suggested we talk to Tom about it too. I agreed, and she texted him to meet us. They both skipped school today, but Sophie gets straight A's, and this was too important to ignore. When Tom arrived, Sophie had me relay everything I had told her. I apologized for any impression I may have given that I didn't think he was good enough for her, and for not telling them the truth sooner. Then, something unexpected happened. Sophie and Tom exchanged a knowing glance. Sophie spoke first, with Tom backing her up. They revealed that they had already suspected something was off with Luke and Amy. Tom had overheard questionable conversations and even sounds coming from Amy's room that he wished he could forget. They had both wondered if Luke was having an affair. They even agreed that because of Kaylee's allergy, Luke might be her father. If that was true, the rest of Tom's siblings could be Luke's as well, and Tom himself could potentially be Luke's child. They had come up with a plan. It turns out they weren't in love, they were just best friends. They didn't want to blow up our family without more evidence, which Tom was trying to gather. Sophie hesitated to tell me the truth because she didn't want to shatter me, unaware that I was already suffering in silence. We both cried, and I made sure she knew none of this was her fault and that I loved her very much. So here we are. Sophie and Tom already know they could be half-siblings, but they aren't interested in being a couple. Their plan was to create a little drama to force Luke and Amy to confront the situation rather than let it continue. They had staged every flirtation and inappropriate touch to make Luke and Amy sweat. When I reacted instead, it threw them for a loop. They couldn't understand why I cared more than the actual cheaters. We even shared a laugh when Tom mentioned he was a bit offended that I was against him dating Sophie. I jokingly asked if he didn't think she was gorgeous, and he shrugged it off, saying she was, but so was his English teacher, and he wasn't asking her out either. Now, the question is where to go from here. I feel relieved to have shared this with Sophie, like an elephant has lifted off my chest. Having her and Tom in my corner means a lot to me. Even though I've confirmed that Luke is involved with Amy, I kind of knew that already. Tom has volunteered to submit his DNA for comparison with Luke's, and both he and Sophie advised me not to tell Luke and Amy about this, which I agree with. They're completely on my side, and that means more to me than I can express. Tom is even trying to set up a camera in Amy's room to catch Luke and her together. Sophie told me outright that I needed to divorce her dad, and hearing that from her made it clearer than ever. She's right.